This is why you die.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 1 of season 2 of This Is Why You Died, a horror podcast where we talk about movies that we pick at random, and then we come back here to talk about them. What's fun about this show is that some of us have seen lots of horror movies, and one of us has not seen any horror movies. My name is Sir Ian Dangerous, a.k.a. your Uncle Frank. And joining me, as always, are Dan March of Madness and Ryan Ross live. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome to season 2.
Here we are.
And we're on video now.
I'm excited.
Season
Video,
2. Look at us.
YouTube.
We're live. We've
Hi,
got
YouTube.
video. We've got YouTube. We've got Patreon. We've got all sorts of fun things.
Oh my
We
God.
got
listed them all.
merch.
We've got merch. We're currently all sitting here wearing our merch, which you can see if you go to our YouTube channel. What is the best way for people to find us? Dan March of Madness and or Ryan Ross Live.
Well, I can do a big shout out to beacons.ai. So if you go to beacons, beacons.ai, we'll put it on the screen too, /TIWYD pod. You'll see all of our links. You'll get the YouTube, Patreon, everything that you need from us is going to be right living on that page.
It'll probably be in the description rather than on screen, I imagine.
That's true. But I can make it pop up. I'm an editor. Magic.
Let's go
ding.
crazy.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
No faith.
We're
no
gonna
faith in
forget.
here. No, I'll remember.
Yeah, we've got
Then I'll
lots
look
of
like
new
an idiot
things.
in the video, like, look, it's right here, and then nothing's there.
And then there's nothing there. Hey, it's all up to you now. It's your
Yeah.
responsibility.
True,
Well,
true.
we have a lot of fun new things for season 2. If you haven't listened to our season 1 finale episode, the last episode that came out, you can check that out. We list all the cool new things that we're doing for this particular season, including, let's see, Ryan, you're now the killer. Aren't you?
am.
You are the man. You can kill us. At the end of every show, we pick a prompt from our Buckets of Doom to determine what our next movies will be. And at any time, Ryan can come along and say, no, you're not going to do that movie. I'm going to do that prompt instead. Or he can just tell us we have to pick something else. It's very mean and very cruel.
I have
And, at any
true
point-
power.
Oh, no.
A trap card to activate at any
Just what
point.
we didn't need him to have. And then, Dan, I believe you are the one who's hiding the power of the hex
Yes.
this season.
I am.
at any
Let's
point-
see when I get to use it. I don't know.
That's
when.
right. Any point you can force all of us to do a whole round of this show with a caveat of your choice. You can cast the magic evil spell and make us do your bidding.
I'm
gonna be-
excited.
How did I get
You
no
got
power
nothing.
this
No
season? I got
powers at
nothing.
all.
I mean,
have
everybody
nothing.
has the slasher prompt, so everybody you've got the power to do one override. But
True. we
I-
all
but
got
Dan and
that,
I have the
yeah.
surprises.
Yes.
I blame this cursed die that Ryan gave me at the end of last season, which I tried to roll and always rolled something terrible. But
no.
that being said, one thing that I'm not cursed about was I did get the option to pick the very first prompt of season 2. That's the way this show works. We pick those prompts, and then we come back here and we watch the movie that I decided on because that prompt inspired me. And the prompt that I picked was cold. The word cold. And so on the spot, I was put on the spot and I was forced to choose a movie right off the bat. And I chose 1982's The Thing, the remake by John Carpenter of the 51? The Thing from Another World. It was a remake of that movie, Howard Hawks movie. And then it was based on the book Who Goes There?
Whoa.
By John W. Campbell.
Oh, man.
And apparently there's
And,
now a prequel as well that they made. I almost
2011?
left the wrong movie.
Oh.
But I
They
figured
did,
it out.
for some reason, name it the exact same thing. Yeah, the 2011 movie was a prequel, which happens basically in the time frame just before this thing, and it ends right as this thing begins.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Mhm.
That's cool.
So,
Yeah.
does
Yeah.
it follow
We'll-
the Norwegians?
It does, actually.
Okay,
got it.
interesting.
But spoiler alert, we got to be careful before we haven't done our spoiler alert
That's
yet.
true. I
So
thought it was vague. I tried to stay vague.
Hold on this Norwegian talk, sir.
It could be any Norwegians.
But we will talk about the sequel / prequel as well, because that is actually something that I want to discuss. Why it worked or didn't work in relationship to this thing. But I was very excited to talk about this thing. We've all watched it. We've all come back, and we are here to talk about it. But before we get into it, spoiler alerts and everything else, boys, what was our previous experience with the thing? I'll throw this out there. It's one of my favorite movies in the world, probably top 3 on a good day. I would put it as one of my favorites. I've seen it in the region. If it's not over 100 times, it's damn close. I've seen this movie. I can quote it front to back. I go frame by frame. I absolutely adore this movie. So
wow,
I may be a little biased.
You loved it that much. Wow.
This is why we were texting today, and it's one reason why I said, boys, you may have to trank dart me on this show. Because I'm going to have a tendency to just go off and monologue.
Yeah. It would not be the
thing.
first time.
No, it wouldn't be the first time.
And it won't be the last.
No, it probably won't. But I will try to refrain as much as possible. Dan, what is your previous experience with John Carpenter's The Thing?
I honestly can't remember the first time I saw it. It was when I was like older already and just kind of jumping back into his catalog. But this is probably like the 3rd or 4th time I've watched it. Probably 4th, now that I think about it. But man, I every time I put this on, I love it more and more. It's just such a good, like, horror, sci-fi, action mixes in it too, like a good mystery. So I can't wait to like break it down. But upon this 4th rewatch, I was just like, okay, this is one of the best. It's one of the best out there.
I am inclined to agree. But Ryan Ross Live, you're our resident horror initiate. Had you by any chance, because every once in a while you surprise us, but had you by any chance seen The Thing? What was your previous experience with The Thing? Had you played it in a video game, anything like that?
Nada.
0.
I had no experience. In fact, I think this might be the first time I've ever seen a young Kurt Russell in a film. Because all of my Kurt Russell experience, he plays like dads. But yeah, I was familiar with the name. I had heard of this movie through the grapevine here or there. I had no idea what it was about. I had no idea really almost any of the context. And I'd never seen a single frame. And here we are. And now I've seen the whole thing.
Yes, you have. Well, that's about what I expected, by the way. So this is going to be a fun show where we have someone who's never seen it before, someone who's seen it a few times and is still kind of like wrapping his noggin around it, and then me, who basically has lived this movie from the time I was a little wee boy watching on my grandmother's floor. So, all right. I guess before we do the spoiler alert, I also want to say, it's very funny that the last show that we did of our previous season, the last movie we reviewed, was actually the movie that John Carpenter did before The Thing. It was The Fog. So we went from The Fog to John Carpenter's very next movie, The Thing. How is that working for you guys? First of all, that's ironic, but how is that working for you guys? Like, did you see some connections there? Even
beyond that, it's funny because we took all of season 1 to hit a John Carpenter film at all, and then we bookended literally to start season two with another John Carpenter film. So, but Dan, I'll let you go first because you know more about John Carpenter than I do. It's like,
I mean, what was funny is it made me appreciate The Fog more because I saw what I think that there was some faults in The Fog, and you can tell from them going back and having to reshoot and cut that together. There's a little bit of fault to it, but the way that the mystery builds and the way that they unfold and try and figure out what this fog means and all these people working together feels like he took what was like working within that and then elevated it into this other thing, even though it was based off of something else I know. And I don't even know if he wrote it, but it feels like these movies feel connected in that way, and that it's like an ensemble group trying to, figure out this mystery and getting these little pieces. But I think that this is just such a, it's just an excellent film, and it's different too because it's not his score, and he wasn't the writer, so it's interesting, like, to me, because I think this is like one of his best. And sometimes filmmakers can hurt themselves if they are used to like being the writer and the director and the doing the score or doing it all, and then they rely on other people. Sometimes it can weaken their next film, or sometimes, like this, I think it helps strengthen it by getting some other people to carry on those roles.
I agree completely. In fact, I think that him, designating other people to do some of the work, having Bill Lancaster do the screenplay instead of doing it himself like he had up until this point, I think that helped a lot. I mean, they still tweaked the script while they were shooting, but the fact that he had someone, and that's a tight script. I think Bill Lancaster's not known for much. It's like this and Bad News Bears, and I think Firestarter. But this script is tight as a drum. I think it's really well done. But it did give him more time to concentrate on everything else, and he needed it because this was, I think, the biggest budget he'd worked with up until this point as well. $15 million, considering that Halloween had a $350,000 budget, something like that. It's a big jump up. So he had a lot to think about. But we have a lot to think about, a lot to talk about. Let's get into it. Spoiler warning, we're going to start really getting into the thing. So bam, 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 spoiler warning. Here we go. Let's talk about The Thing. If for some reason you're watching and or listening to this show and you haven't seen The Thing, what are you doing? Go see this movie. It's one of the best ever. But it's okay. We will really quickly give a rundown about it. It's a bunch of Americans at a research base in Antarctica, and all of a sudden one day a strange dog runs up being pursued by a couple of guys in a helicopter. They kill the guys in the helicopter because in self-defense. They take the dog in, and then things go very wrong because it turns out that the dog is actually not a dog at all. It's an alien critter that can shapeshift and become any single one of them. And then everything devolves into paranoia as basically it turns into 10 little Indians, and they're picked off one by one. As you said, Ryan, starring a young, beautiful 31-year-old Kurt Russell with his magnificent mane, his beautiful beard,
the full
his J&B scotch, and his amazing hat, his incredible hat, which John Carpenter forced him to wear, which he was so mad at that he had to wear the damn thing. But yeah, I'm gonna drop out here because I'll have my time later in the show. I'm sure, but I will throw this to you boys. Dan, I'll give it to you because I'm going to keep people on pins and needles as far as what Ryan thought. But Dan, your fourth viewing of The Thing, give me some more, man. What did you think? What worked for you? What aspects of The Thing kind of stand out to you as being a good movie that you said it was?
Well, I think this time I really, because of the current climate we're living in, I think you know what I'm talking about. There's a lot more to that you can, what these characters go through, and the mistrust and the lack of communication, all that happens within this whole thing, and allowing this monster to come into their world, and the distrust that they have for each other feels so much like an echo of things that are going on in our day-to-day life. So seeing it this time, where being like very, kind of focused on the politics of the world right now, currently in my life, more than I ever have, in my adult life, really felt like it's hitting it like at home. And I just find like so much more to love about this thing. Like it is just like from frame one, you're like sucked into this story of like, why are these guys trying to shoot this dog? What's going on? And I heard this little Easter egg tidbit, which we could go about later, but basically, if you can understand Norwegian, they ruin the entire plot of the movie with what he's saying.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
They chose not to put it on the screen smartly, but if you understand it, he's basically saying like, that's not a dog, it's a thing, it's imitating a dog, don't get near it. So it's like the entire like plot of the movie, and if they understood it, and I think that is a point that the script is trying to make, of these language barriers, the distrust, not knowing what's going on. I think a lot of those themes are in it, and I saw that a lot more this time around. So yeah, and it's just I just love the characters. Kurt Russell's fucking awesome. You know, like it's just so cool.
Drunk,
and then
PTSD having Vietnam vet, you know.
Yeah, and one thing that I didn't notice this time, but maybe you guys could speak to it if you saw this, because I didn't see it this time. And Ian, it sounds like you've seen it so many times, maybe you've already thought about this, but the fact that they're making him play chess in the beginning, and then there's all these men that feel like chess pieces moving on the board of like who can survive, who cannot. Like I felt like this game that he was playing like mirrored what he'd have to be doing as like the leader of like, who can I use, who can I move around here, who can I keep safe, who can I keep near me. I thought that was kind of cool setup, and I didn't even know if like,
and he still gets checkmated in the end too.
Exactly. Well, this is that's the funny thing. He's playing chess and he's losing badly, and ultimately he does lose. Also, little tidbit, if we're going to do trivia, Adrienne Barbeau, the woman who was in the lighthouse and the thing, and John Carpenter's wife at the time, she's the voice of the chess machine.
Oh, that's hilarious!
That's so
actually,
yeah, that's so funny.
Just another little nerd tidbit. But it's funny that you say that about paranoia, Dan, because this is a very paranoid movie. It's a very cynical movie. It's extremely cynical, and it came out in 1982, after the 70s and after basically when America was kind of sick of cynicism. It was ready to have a bit of a brighter future in the 80s, and everyone was very hopeful. And the big movie in 1982 was E.T. Family-friendly fare was very in, and there was a lot of grim movies that came out in 82 that bombed. The Thing bombed when it came out in 1982. Wow. It came out the same day as another movie that's now legendary that bombed, Blade Runner. Also, a cynical movie about the future that did not do well in theaters because Americans didn't want to see paranoia and cynicism. And also, this movie was extremely gory and in your face for the time too. And so that it just didn't hit. It didn't hit till years later when it came out on VHS, when it came out on home movies, and it grew a cult following. The critics who had trashed it when it came out, all came around, pretty much all came around on it. I remember Roger Ebert at the time called it something like pornography of violence. And he later came around to regret it and said it's actually a brilliant film, which I think it is too. But it's interesting you mentioned that paranoia, because that's why it's funny. It didn't hit when it first came out, but it's amazing how it started to kind of reflect things. People are like, oh yeah, maybe misanthropy and cynicism has a place after all. Ryan, your first time watching The Thing. I have been excited to hear your take on this since we suggested it. Go on, son. What did you think?
I'll leave you in slight suspense for a moment, because I'll touch on kind of your earlier question in terms of like the bookending of John Carpenter, right? One thing that I'm learning I really like about John Carpenter, at least in these two movies, is that like the way that they kind of puzzle things together. We talked about how like The Fog feels very adventurous. This feels very Survivor, like everyone's trying to face this threat, and there's to a point where it's very like trying to suss out different ways to solve this insane problem. I really enjoyed this movie. I did. I do think there are a couple plot holes in it throughout. I think that specifically there are a number of choices that they make that, like, I recognize that we could give the excuse that they're very, very tired. They're low on sleep. They mentioned that multiple times, and they're under extreme duress. But there are definitely some decisions that they make that make absolutely no sense in the context of when they make them. And I'm like, all this information. Why would you split up here? Like, that these 4 people are humans. Why would 3 of you go outside and 1 of you stay behind? That makes no sense. Like, at this point, all 4 of you should be together at all times. And then similarly, they do the same thing like 10, 15 minutes later, when they're like, here, you take this and go in that room, and you take this and go in that room, and I'll be in here by myself. It's like, why? But anyway, otherwise, really enjoyed the film.
This is, I think, one of the things that we created this show for is the nitpicks where you go, why did you make that dumb decision in the horror movie?
Seriously, but it's like right there too. They like go through, they literally lay out. They're like, okay, like the 4 of us, we're good. And then they're like, okay, well, the 3 of us are going to go up the hill. If one of us comes back, torch us. Like, you're by yourself. Keep an eye out, buddy. It's like, guys.
I don't
Anyway.
know, but then they had the people they didn't trust, right? They still had him in there.
No, well, at that point, it was just the four of them and then the one guy in the
about.
shack.
Oh,
it was.
okay.
He's talking about when we get to the end and they leave Childs behind, and then when they go down to blow everything up, and he's like, "All right, Donald Moffat, you go in the other room so you can be, face palmed by the Quaker Oats man."
Yeah.
So, by the way, I think now's as good a time as any to throw this in there. Can you guys hazard a guess the ages of those two guys? Donald Moffat, who played kind of the commander of the base, and Wilford Brimley, who played.
Wait,
I guess he was a biologist.
Yes,
that was Wilford Brimley.
You didn't know that he was in the movie the whole time?
Like Debetus Wilford Brimley?
Yes. That's the one.
That's him.
Hilarious.
Yes.
I did not know that.
That was Wilford Brimley in
for Liberty Mutual.
That's right. Fantastic role for him.
So good.
Guess their
That's
ages,
amazing.
their respective ages in this movie.
I'm so bad at this because also I think when you look back at like the 70s, 80s, people just look dirt.
That's kind of the game.
Sun damage. It's sun damage and smoking.
Yeah, so honestly, they're probably in their early 40s, late 30s, probably.
I was gonna say
luckily,
37, 30,
luckily
45.
not that bad.
Okay.
There were some people in this movie who definitely look like they're in their 40s and they're in their 30s. Wilford Brimley was 48. Donald Moffat was 52.
Holy, okay. So that's a little bit more that they actually look their age.
They actually both look pretty good for their age now that you give those ages.
As someone who is very close to their ages, I am going to take offense to that, sir.
To be fair, we've already covered. I distinctly thought you were like 38 for years. So with all due respect,
I am 38, and we'll leave it at that. But Ryan, go on. So you have some nitpicks with a couple of plot holes and characters not making entirely smart choices.
Yes.
But overall, you said you enjoyed the movie. What aspects of the movie really stood out to you? Was it the cinematography, the acting, the story, the special effects? Like what jumped out at you as being aspects that you dug?
Well, the practical effects are amazing. Like, we can just call that out straight up. The practical effects are really, really good.
One guy did them.
That's wild. That's actually.
Well, I should throw a caveat in there. Rob Bottin did most of the practical effects. If you saw the sculptures and the thing stuff where, the big critter at the end, the couple of dissection scenes, the surgery scene where the chest splits open and then the spider thing and the head comes off, all Rob Bottin. The only thing that he didn't do but was given credit for, Stan Winston, the guy who did Jurassic Park, Predator, all the rest of those, like the legend Stan Winston, he did the initial dog thing on the floor once they finally come in and it's kind of half mutated. With the not the whole transformation scene. That was Rob Bottin who did the transformation. He did the transformation scene with the dog, but Stan Winston did when they come around the corner and they're all in the hallway and they look in there and you have that amazing shot of it's curled up and then the head comes up and there's like the weird tentacle coming out of its butthole or whatever it is at the time. That's Stan Winston. Everything else, one guy, Rob Bottin.
Wow,
that's insane.
Incredible.
Yeah, special effects are he had to go to the hospital. He was so exhausted after doing this movie.
That's crazy.
Believable. I mean, the dude.
Look at it.
It's because it's crazy. It's crazy. But yes, special effects are phenomenal. What else stood out to you?
Honestly, I love the story. I love the way that it progresses. I like the fact that it does a really good job of keeping in suspense who is and who isn't. And it doesn't give you too much that it's obvious, and it doesn't hide so much that you can't make your own guesses. I don't think it does a really good job of giving you a lot of evidence to identify before it just kind of gives it to you. Like, a lot of it seems to happen kind of off screen and in such a way that you never really have any way to distinctly prove any of them from just the film on first watch, I think. But it makes the reveals really good and the suspense very good. And I also thought that the way that they progress, how they solve it, and the let's test with the blood and the wires and stuff, they ratchet it up well throughout, and pretty consistently. And so I thought that was probably its biggest strength, although there are times where in that ratcheting they have to make decisions that I'm that makes no sense. You have to do that but it makes no sense that you would do that.
Okay, all right. Give me an example. What's one where they made a decision that you felt was not splitting up, but like something else that they did that was irrational to you?
Most of it was splitting up. Some of it was like the one guy died in the ice for no reason. Like he went out and he found McCready's vest, and then he just burns himself. And it's kind of like, okay, we're just gonna like throw out a character. That felt kind of like I get it, but also like it felt a little bit it felt almost like it was kind of just a rush. Like it was like, we have too many people, we got to just get rid of one. We can logically conclude why he would do it. I don't blame the guy, but also it just felt like it didn't stand up compared to the rest of them. I think that the amount of posturing the guy does with the dog guy does with the knife, and then the fact that he wasn't one the whole time, he ends up being human, but he does the whole posturing with the scalpel for like 3 scenes before he goes for the stab, gets shot directly in the face, and then turns out to not be an alien. That all felt kind of like, really? Like you're gonna set up this guy for like 20 minutes and then finally make him go for it, die, and he's innocent? Like, come on.
All right, if you're gonna start nitpicking my movie here, I'm gonna throw down, especially for my boy Richard Mazer there, who played. Let's go. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Let's hit it. I like the fact that they built him up as, they built that tension up over several scenes of, okay, he has the scalpel. You know that we're at the point now where nobody trusts anybody, and he's this, that kind of quiet, intense guy. He's the quiet, intense character. He's got really nothing else to live for. His dogs are dead, and he obviously really cared about them a lot. And so he gets fixed in his mind, I'm going to take out McCready. I don't trust McCready. I don't like him having the authority here.
Yeah.
I'm going to take him out. And so if you actually watch his character arc, it's actually really well done when you watch how he plays it and how he's trying to get close to McCready over and over. Because what's he going to do? McCready has a gun. He's got a scalpel. And if he's not careful, what ultimately does happen is going to happen to him. And he just, he jumps the gun too early, pardon the pun. So it's actually, I think it's actually fairly well played with building up the tension of his character. Obviously, results may vary, but having seen it a bunch of times, I like the fact that they are consistent with his character and building it up to that point where he snaps and goes for McCready. As a matter of fact, sorry, go ahead.
I don't disagree with that. I think my issue was the fact that out of everyone, he was the most likely candidate to not be human from the get-go, because he spends the most time with the dog. They make this weird, sketchy thing of like he was alone with the dog for a long time. They establish like, why didn't you put the dog in the kennel with everyone else? You're letting it just wander around. That makes no sense. Like they really put all of this stuff in as kind of like MacGuffins to kind of like put you suspicious on him from the get-go. And then he ends up not being that. And that, I think, felt like a pretty major letdown after all of the posturing they done.
Counterpoint, it actually makes the paranoia even worse, because now the people that you suspect the most are actually possibly innocent. And
I agree, but at that point, they're basically they're already actively like to the point that they're approaching the blood test. Like most of that value is kind of gone because they're like this close from the solution that ultimately that is the key to identifying friend and foe.
It's funny, I have to admit, when we were just going to discuss like, and I knew nitpicks were going to happen.
Yeah,
I did not think that this was going to be the nitpick. I thought the first thing was going to be like, fucking flying saucers, man. Really? I thought we were going to have issues with that. What did we think about? So this is obviously, it's based on a 50s movie, and there was some 50s stuff thrown in there, the flying saucer being a big one. We open with a flying saucer, a fucking flying saucer flying through space, and then we have the title card burn through. Wilford Brimley is actually making a flying saucer in the basement?
Yeah, that was wild.
That was interesting. Yeah.
These aren't things that bothered anybody? We were okay with
the basement. The basement was dumb. It was like it made no sense. I kind of just wrote it off, to be honest.
Well, because I couldn't tell like when he became like, when did he become the thing? Like, was it recent? Because
he was the one to do the autopsy. He was the very first one.
Was it since that long ago that he was the thing?
He was neck deep in that thing. He had his hands all up in that thing. Who knows when he
then like I guess he's trying to like get home like ET. So maybe he's building. He's sneaking out somehow and grabbing stuff from the that's sitting around, and he's trying to build a flying saucer. I mean, yeah, this was actually the first time I actually paid attention to what he was making, and I saw that it was a small ship, and I was like, oh, huh.
Well,
okay.
honestly, that entire tunnel was so dumb because it was like they basically imply that while he was in the shack, dug a tunnel underneath, perfectly square in the ice with no tools.
He has like a full like,
which I guess he can shape-shift, I guess, but whatever. So like he makes his arm into a knife, sure. He chisels away at the ice, whatever. But then you're gonna pretend that he dug out an entire room under the ice with nobody noticing. He was always there whenever anybody visited. And then with the things that he stole from a tractor and the dashboard wheel of a helicopter, he was able to piece together the entire like 2/3 of a mini flying saucer with no additional supplies.
He's a resourceful thing.
Where did you get the steel alone? Let alone like the wiring. You can't get a spaceship with the wires in the wheel of a helicopter. Like
he's Wilford Brimley. He probably just pulled the extra iron out of his blood. That man is a man. He's a man.
There was a lot of wreckage of that helicopter from the beginning. Boom.
Yeah.
They had the other helicopter that they tore up. So there's more.
There was all that stuff too. Downstairs, that big basement that they had that was so enormous. They had a ton of stuff down there. He built the flying saucer. He wanted to get home. Why are you so mad? Why are you so mad at Wilford Brimley just trying to get home?
It's dumb.
Just because he wants to give some Quaker oats.
It's dumb.
He was hungry. He was hungry for them oats. But no, okay. So, all right. So we were a little bit annoyed at the flying saucer, but it doesn't break the movie.
The first one was cool. The second one was dumb.
the opening,
the main one, the big giant one, super cool.
In the ice,
the one in the basement,
cool.
So dumb.
Really cool.
All right. So I have to, we kind of touched on this a second ago, but this is a big discussion about this movie. And this is one of the philosophical questions that's been raised by this movie over time is what, or physiological, psychological, technical questions, whatever you want to call it. Too late. When do you know you're the thing? That's the big question, right? Okay. So if the thing takes you over, if it's on a molecular basis, we saw Wilford Brimley look at the computer screen, it takes you over cell by cell, sometimes violently, sometimes subtly, apparently. The question is, when do you know you're taken over? If it's on a cellular level, if it's doing you brick by brick, essentially, it's the ship of Theseus, right? When do you become the thing? When does the thing know that it's the thing? Can you still be you until the thing decides to get into the driver's seat? And these are questions I wanted to throw to you guys. When do you think people know that they're the thing? Dan, what was your interpretation? What was your read?
It almost feels like they never know. Like it just happens. And it's almost like it infects and takes over, but it probably just does it in a way that it just is so subtle that the person doesn't even realize that they're gone and they're just gone. And now this thing is another aspect of it, and it's trying to morph and change and like mimic what it's supposed to become. But I would think that they never realize that they're almost gone. Like it just once it's in you, then it just takes over. And it just you just slowly become that, and there's no like harsh cutoff or like some violent thing. I didn't like. There were so many times that now the thing was somebody or something else that it was just like, oh, there was no climatic event that happened to show that happened, so it must be able to just kind of slowly do it as well too. That's what I think.
What do you think, Ryan? Because I've got an opinion here too, and I want to hear you guys before I drop down on this.
So I think I have a couple thoughts on this, because I think that there are the ones that it just straight up murks and then becomes entirely, right? Like the very first guy that just gets strangled and then like it tries to morph into, and they're like, that's not what's his face, whose name I forget. And he's got the claw hands and they burn him out in the field. Like those ones clearly it's just like it's a light switch, right? Like they're dead, the thing's the thing. But in terms of the cell thing, I actually was thinking about how I feel like the name The Thing is almost kind of disingenuous, because the implication is that it's not one thing, it's a bunch of things, because they imply that the cells, with the whole blood test, they imply that the cells are actually like a separate thing. Like every individual part of it is trying to protect itself, and it's almost like a hive mind situation where they like can't necessarily work together and like communicate when they're not physically organically connected, but each separate entity, once they are separated from each other, acts independently with the same MO. Like it's almost like cloning itself in a way into other things. And so it's not one thing, it's many things. Almost at sometimes at cellular level and sometimes full organism level. But then on the flip side too, if it is absorbing you cell by cell, I agree with Dan. I don't think that there's ever really a point that you know. But at some point, like the thing knows that it's the thing. The things know that they are the thing. At a certain point, you cease to exist and the thing exists in your place. And the film doesn't do a great job of answering, like, does the thing have access to your memories? Or is it only gathering information from what's around them? Like, it refers to people by name, but is it picking that up in conversation? Does nobody at any point ask, like, what's the name of your wife? Like, where were we on like, where did we go for the World Series in 1977? What baseball field did we watch it in? Like, that's not a realm that they broach in terms of like, they have the little conversation of like, how would I prove that? And like, that would, in my mind, be the next logical step of like, this is something to try. And they never really broach that, which I think to its credit would muddy things and would drag down the momentum. I don't think they should broach it. I think it's better that they don't. But there's no real way, in my opinion, to answer, because we don't really get much evidence. There's like either the ones who die right away, and then there's the ones that are absorbed. And I think we can probably all agree the thing knows it's the thing, and at a certain point is going to act on its initiative to survive. But the people that are slowly like the ship of Theseus, that's a good way to put it. I think that they eventually just cease to exist. Like, it shows the cells essentially getting enveloped. I think they just die, and their bodies are puppet walking around, is my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that's a solid opinion too. I mean, that's it's certainly. I think you hit on something that's I think more of the general consensus of it, which is that the movie kind of shows us a few different ways. Mm-hmm. The movie gives us more options to play with, and that ambiguity is one of the things that works so well in this movie. It shows some very violent takeover, a couple of very violent takeovers, right? The guy that you just mentioned that got taken outside and they had like his hand turned into claws, whose name I can't remember either. But he was taken over very violently. The dogs were being taken over very violently. Kurt Russell keeps finding people's clothes that were torn apart. So obviously it's not always a nice, peaceful process.
Bennings.
But sometimes, thank you. Sometimes it is a peaceful process. Sometimes, obviously, it is very quiet. At one point when the dog goes into a room, and we can assume that it was Norris that he took over at that point. That seemed to be fairly chill, and Norris seemed to be acting very normal to have all his memory. Palmer seemed to have all of his memories. If he wasn't in control of his own memories, then he was acting a hell of a lot like Palmer. When he was, saying, I'm not going with Windows. I'm not going with them.
But that's the thing is like, that's the thing is, I think
that's
that
the thing.
The behavioral imitation is one thing, but memory recognition, I think, are two different things. And that's the thing that I don't know if we ever touch on, because perfectly being able to mimic an organism that you embody in terms of like physicality and like mannerisms and the way that you speak and all that, like that makes sense just from an imitation level, but that's observational. I don't know if we ever cross from observational into stuff that exists outside of the observational sphere.
Here's a postulation, and this is actually a fun thing to think about.
We're getting philosophical.
Absolutely. That's the thing with the thing. Hey, is that it does bring up some deep philosophical questions about identity and about what point do we lose our humanity. Can you imagine if you were Wilford Brimley and you were trying to destroy everything because you felt like you needed to make sure that the thing didn't get out to the real world, but that was, the thing was letting him do that thing in the back seat. He was already the thing. He didn't know it, but it was like, this is fine. I don't need to get out. It would be inconvenient for me to do this now, and let him do that. Imagine him being stuck up in that shack, and he still thinks he's Wilford Brimley. He still has all his own thoughts. He's still thinking, his own consciousness is still running the show, and he just all of a sudden looks down and realizes that his hands are working on making a flying saucer. Yeah, and he can't remember when he started building a flying saucer, but he must have a reason to be building this flying saucer, so I guess I'll just keep building this flying saucer, right? That's the stuff that really kind of gets under your skin when you think about it for too long about this movie, is at what point do people really know that they're the thing? And that's why the ending of this movie, I think, is so strong, and I wanted to get you guys' opinions on it because I think it's one of the greatest endings in film, where you have the whole place burning down. They've blown everything up. Kurt Russell's out there with his bottle of J&B and his tiny little blanket. He's not going to last long in 100 below. And he, sits down in the burnt out shack, and he goes to take a sip, and along comes Childs, who has run away from his post and has some weird cockamamie story about how he followed the Quaker Oats man into the storm. And he goes, "Where were you, Childs?" And he's, I ran away. And he's like, "What do we do now?" He's like, "Well, if we had any surprises, I don't think we're any real condition to show each other, to do anything about it right now. So let's just sit around, see what happened." End of the film. Super dark, super bleak, right? They're both going to freeze and die, even if they're... How do we know they're not both the thing?
Right.
Kurt Russell says at one point, "I know I'm human." What's to convince us at that point that he is?
Well, he does pass the blood test. He does
earlier.
At the point.
That's true.
That point.
Well, and also, actually, to agree with your point, I think one of the things with Wilford Brimley too is, in terms of him destroying stuff, there's a possibility that it hadn't taken over yet, because we don't know. Just because you've been introduced to it, what is the threshold under which it gains control? Like if it's in his hand and hasn't quite worked his way up to his nervous system yet fully, like maybe Wilford Brimley is still being heroic when he's breaking everything down, and there's no and then by the time the thing gets in the seat, it's like, damn, I'm late. Like, you never know. But honestly, at least for the ending, I had mixed feelings on it. I thought that I liked the weight of it, but it also felt like coming out of what I thought was the best line in the movie, which was like fuck you too. Like, best moment in the whole thing. And then coming out and having this, like, what is a appropriately tense scene. It does have some oomph to it, but also ultimately just kind of fizzles. Like, we have this, to your point, very bleak ending of it just kind of ends. Like, there's no big moment. There's no reveal. It leaves you with questions, but it also just leaves, like, literally the ending is them sitting together. Like, that is a very low action state. And that part was frustrating to me because I felt like it had amped up. They spend the whole movie ratcheting up the suspense and ratcheting up the tension, and then you have this big showdown, and it's very satisfying. And then you get this thing that's like, shit. And, like, you have this moment of, like, what's this going to mean? And then it goes, and that's it. And you're like, that's it?
Yeah.
Like, it kind of, it honey dicks you at the end. And I like being honey dicked at the end.
Wow.
What a horrible phrase to use for the ending of this movie.
Have you never heard that?
I have.
No, we understand the phrase. You're just saying that we shouldn't be using it for this ending.
But it is, though. It introduces this point of tension. It introduces this point of suspense that you're like, oh, this is a juicy tidbit. This is a cool thing to do. And then they go, and that's it. And you're like, okay, that's it.
It's ending on a single held note after a symphony, Ryan. You can't always have, like, bum, bum, bum to end everything.
But if you have a single held note, don't hold a sour note at the end, because then you're going to make everybody upset. You have to
You're going to make everyone feel
chord.
sour, and the whole point is to make people feel sour. It's a cynical movie. It's not supposed to end with, and then they held out flowers to each other,
no.
kissed and made up.
It doesn't have to be in major. It can be in minor. It just has to resolve.
It was in minor, and it did resolve. It resolved with the two of them sitting there deciding to wait around and see what happened.
Yeah,
That's a resolution. That's a resolution. Dan, weigh in on this. What did you think of the ending of the thing?
I'm still not like fully 100% on any of it, honestly. Like, and I think that's, I don't know. I go back and forth, and I've read, before, after viewing it for this fourth time, I just did like a dive on like all the theories of what people think and like the ways that they think it's Kurt Russell's character that's actually human, the way that they think Child is actually human, the way that they think that both of them are the thing. It's like there's all these different things that could make sense to me. And I'm still not fully like 100% know for sure what either of them is going through. And part of me feels like that's the point that they're trying to make with it. I love when movies are not satisfying and they end like with this very, obscure way where the audience, the viewer, is forced to then fill it out themselves. And by giving an answer to it, tells you something about yourself and about what you thought about the movie. And I think that that's what's great. And that's what's kind of, a lot of Hollywood movies, just a lot of movies in general, can't end this way because, as humans, like we want a resolution and we want to them tell us like the ending. So it's good. I listen to that story. It's done. I connected with the people, now I can move on. Whereas this like forces you to kind of fill in the blanks, and then whether you like it or not, the answer that you give kind of gives you an answer into yourself. And I think that that's the power of film, and that's the power of what these obscure endings can do. And so I'm still don't know what the fuck who anybody is at the end of this. And I think that that's the point too. Now that I see it, it's if you look at it so cynically, it's like giving in, it's like giving up and giving in. And if you do that, like, let's just sit here and just see what happens rather than like taking action. It's like, let's just see what happens. And if that's kind of the ending that you accept, where it's like, I'm just going to let it win no matter what it is, that feels very cynical. That feels very bleak. And
but he did everything he could do. He did everything that he could have done as a single human being. And he was like, cool, that's it. That's all I got.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I'm just going to sit here and nip until the cold gets me.
Right.
What's funny is the cynic in me felt like they just left it open-ended in case they wanted a sequel. That's what it felt like to me.
Well, that is even more cynical than the actual movie itself, is to look outside of the movie to the commerce behind the movie, Ryan. It's extremely cynical.
It's easy to leave an unanswered movie if you want to maybe make another, and you might think it might make money.
Oh my! Well, that's a very Mike Logan thing to say, Ryan Roslai, which brings us to our next segment, the Mike Logan Award, the Fuck That Guy Award, the Why Would That Person Make That Horrible Choice? Now's your time, Ryan. Who in this movie do you give the Fuck That Guy Award to? And you can't say the thing. You can't say intergalactic shape-shifting entity. You got to pick a human being here. Who do you give the Mike Logan Award to?
Honestly, I don't think there's any like one real standout dick in this movie. Like, everybody tends to behave pretty logically, I think, in terms of like, yeah, some of them could be aggressive, but like they're all paranoid and whatever. I don't think anyone crosses too many lines. I think the one that gets closest for me is I'm going to give it to Clark, who's the dog guy. I think that
really,
because the thing is, although I will give him, I will add the asterisk of he is the one who's the most empathetic for the animals in the movie, which is against what this would normally go to. I think the issue for me is that he at no point really cooperates with the team almost at all. Everyone else at some point at least cooperates to a degree of like everyone, like there's people who are like, I don't trust this particular person. I don't trust that particular person. Like, and they can be aggressive, but most of the time they're working together of like, hey, like, let's do this thing. I need you to grab that. We're going to go do this. Like, everyone's teaming up to try and get things done because they're all in the survival situation. There's almost no point beyond the initial conversation where you start to get sus on Clark, where they're like, how long were you alone with the dog? After that point, Clark just basically writes everyone off. and becomes like this one man island of like, I'm not going to cooperate with anyone. And that causes a lot of problems, which to be fair is part of why we get suspicious of him. But it also like, it would have made it so much easier had everyone been working together from the get-go. And so I think I got to hand it to him because he's the biggest wrench in the system from the beginning.
Interestingly enough, and funny you say that because a lot of the guys in this have very, they've all the actors did a very good job of making their characters very unique and specific and having their own viewpoints. And I think the guy that Clark as well has that same thing going on where he's playing him very quiet. He's the kind of quiet, weird guy who never really interacts with the group, right? He's the bit of the outsider. So he's going to be the guy that you naturally kind of suspect and are suspicious of because he's a little bit weird. He's a little bit off. He's a little quiet. He's probably the guy that had nothing else in life that he could really do other than be the dog handler in the Antarctic.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that they do put him up there as being the guy you're most suspicious of. And then the guy who's ends up not being the thing. And as you say, the fact that he's kind of the wrench, that he's the one guy who just, nopes out about helping everybody else out, it kind of speaks to how some people just naturally are. They don't want to be part of a group. And in a situation where a group needs to come together and work together, that's going to end up causing some problems.
Agreed. And honestly, I think this is the first instance that I've really ever had. I don't really feel like anyone's a strong candidate for the award in this movie.
Yeah,
almost every movie.
You got a good point.
Almost every movie we've ever had, there's somebody that you can really point to, like this person's a bad person, or they're a dick, or like they're just intentionally problematic. Like everyone in this movie is kind of just trying their best. I just think that out of everyone, he is the most fitting, I guess. And he's still not a great fit, but that's
God damn it, Clark! Why couldn't you just have chilled the hell out and put the scalpel down? Dan, March of Madness. Is there anyone you want to nominate for the Mike Logan Award, or is this a pass this week?
No, but just like Ryan was saying, it's tough because they don't all fit. But if we want to give it to the most annoying character, I think we could go with the radio guy who always made Windows. He's always like, okay. He's just like, they ask, hey, how did you find anybody? No, what the fuck? He's just like gets so angry. He's like 0 to 100. Like, Windows, calm the fuck down. We're just trying to ask you a question. He's super tense. And then wasn't he the one at the end when the other guy reveals when they're doing the blood test? Isn't he the one that like is stuck still and can't freeze?
He can't find the flamethrower.
Then he just kind of gets like sucked into the face of it to be eaten.
He gets chomped by Palmer.
Yeah, so it's like, if anything, it's like you could have tried a little bit harder, guy. But other than that, I think that's the closest I'd say. Is that
you could have flamed him, Windows? You could have flamed him, and you didn't.
Also, can we just talk about the amount of like? They spend a good 2 minutes with that one flamethrower. He's like twisting it, trying to fire it, twisting it, trying to. It's like, dude, like figure something out. Like there are things happening. If the flamethrower's not working, either ditch the flamethrower and get something else, or make the flamethrower work. Like
he got it working. He got it working.
I got a big question. What are people doing at science research facilities where they need so much jet fuel flamethrowers? Constantly, it's like every time there was an incident, they were like, "Get the flamethrower!" And I was like, "What were they doing?"
Well, to be fair, they are in a bunch of ice. Like the flamethrowers would be good to help just keep melting and heat.
Is that what they're
melting the ice and getting rid of trash? You can't have trash sitting around because it builds up after a while.
Yeah.
So you burn trash using flamethrower.
I was just curious because it was just like anytime there was something scary, they're like flamethrowers everywhere. I was like, man, they got a lot of flamthrowers. They just got a whole garage of flamethrowers sitting around.
I've had enough time to sit with this movie that I've like, why do they have flamethrowers? Yes, because of the trash. I've sat and thought about this too. My Mike Logan Award is pretty easy. It goes to the goddamn Swedish. What the hell do you guys? Whatever.
Norwegian. Hey, you made the joke.
I'm being Kurt Russell.
In the movie.
Thank you. This goddamn Swedes. Pause for effect.
Jeez.
If they hadn't dug so damn deep and been so irresponsible scientifically. What do you find a weird organism and you defrost it? Have they watched no science fiction movies? What are you doing? They obviously
haven't.
have. They don't have
They're
them in
in one.
Sweden or Norway or wherever. But here's the thing. And also, what are you doing? I know it's cold out, but get a better grip on your thermite grenade. Throwing it backwards at your
That was
helicopter.
pretty funny. That was pretty
Shooting
bad.
people in the leg while you're trying to shoot a thing dog.
Well,
I mean,
honestly, the guy who digs for it, it's like, that's a terrible idea.
Bro,
Like,
yeah, what do you...
Come on.
You talk about Keystone cops, I'm talking about Keystone Swedes.
Yeah.
Or Norwegians, right? It's like, oh no, I went and lost it. What are you doing? And also, so if you ever watch the prequel sequel, it doesn't help their case any. I'll just put it that way. The tragedy of the prequel sequel is that they got a lot of things right. They got a lot of things very wrong. And the things that they got wrong with that movie really kill what could have been a respectable prequel to this movie. I'm not going to spoil it beyond that in case at some point we do watch it on this show. But I will say this, one of the biggest travesties of that movie was that they had done the whole thing using practical effects. And then the studio, for whatever reason, said, we don't think it looks good enough, so we're going to use digital effects. And so these horrible rushed digital effects that are over these practical effects. And it looks terrible, especially in comparison with this movie, which is all practicals. And some of the footage of the practicals that they used on the sequel prequel got out, and it's infuriating to see that it was thrown away. What could have been a really good, goopy, special effects laden movie was tossed.
Wow.
So very
Also,
sad.
Can we talk about how terrible a shot the one guy is? Because they spend a whole chase sequence of this guy firing at this dog thing, and up until they land, which at that point, he still never hits anything but a guy's leg. Hold up. They fire at this thing, and yes, he's in a helicopter. Yes, it's windy. Yes. There is no even tufts of snow. There's no, he's nowhere near the thing.
Okay, hold up. First of all, give the filmmakers some credit. It's before they could put in little digital puffs to have everywhere. There was, as
you
it
can
was
do
probably
little air bursts.
That helicopter pilot that they got for this movie, by the way, was almost as much of a god as the dog actor Jed. Like, the two of them really knew what the hell they were doing. That helicopter pilot was doing some crazy stunts in low flying.
Oh, yeah. And in high wind.
And in high wind, apparently. But Ryan, you're the guy who's always a nitpicker for reality.
Did you just call me Brian?
No,
Ryan.
Brian, I heard,
I heard a B, and I was like, what? Anyway, continue.
You're hearing things.
That's true.
So, Ryan, when's the last time you shot a rifle, let alone out of a moving helicopter? Just
Not
in terms
a
of
moving
realism.
helicopter. I have shot I used to teach shooting sports.
Okay.
Yeah, with the Boy Scouts.
It's true.
You know
This is
how that
accurate.
ended.
I did.
Yeah.
How that
I
ended.
spent 3 or 4 years.
Perforated Boy Scouts. But no, okay, so you know how
legal
hard it
reasons,
is.
I'm just kidding.
If you're we're beyond the statute of limitations by now, I'm sure. If you're sitting out of a moving vehicle, in this case a helicopter, in high chop with a rifle, shooting hundreds of yards away at a small moving target.
I'm not saying that he should have been able to hit it when they were moving. I agree that's an incredibly difficult shot. I'm just saying he was nowhere near it, that they even had at all any signs that he was close. And then even when they land, the only thing he hits is another guy's leg.
I mean, I stay with my Mike Logan award going to the Norwegians for just not being able to do anything right. But that actually,
aim.
It's a perfect segue into finding out why people die in this movie. This is why you died. Ryan, take it away. Why did someone die? I mean, you have a lot of candidates to choose from. You have a lot of nitpicks with this movie. Please tell me why one of these idiots died. And I'm assuming one of these reasons is because they separated when they should have stayed together.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I've shit on Clark enough. I won't shit on Clark more. So what I'll go Knowles. Knowles makes it to the end. He's the second last man alive. And instead, he literally sees a body, or at least they imply. I don't know if they technically, if it's confirmed, but they imply that he sees the body being dragged across the hallway, and he doesn't say anything. He doesn't go, "Hey, McCready, something's happening over there." He doesn't go, "Hey," I don't remember the name of the other guy. You mentioned it earlier. The name of the other Hallahan or Norris or whatever. Like, "Hey, hey, like, are you okay down there? Doesn't say anything. Just slowly walk alone down the hallway.
Oh, such a great shot, though.
It's a great
cool shot of him.
It's a great shot.
Off.
It's a terrible decision, and that's why he died.
Yeah. Not a decision that anyone I can imagine that actual state would actually make.
Correct.
What's down here? Dan March of Madness. Tell us
that?
why someone died.
Oh, I'm gonna go back with who I was getting pissed off with before. I'm gonna go with Windows. Should have fired. Should you not just stare at the guy? Just fire your giant flamethrower that you had in your hand. But yeah, so that's why he died. Unfortunately.
Yep. And I'm gonna stick with my Norwegians, man. You know, and Ryan, I'm gonna take your idea here. You died because you walked into another person's camp, firing wildly all over the place, screaming in Norwegian about the devil dog thing. What are you doing, dude? What are you doing? You just stalked up there like the Terminator, screaming in Norwegian. What did you think was going to happen, dude?
And honestly, like, even if he was full on like Swedish Chef, he could have been like, like,
thing, dog.
Oh, this has to be a video. We got to see Chef.
Oh, that's
this has
maybe
to
if he'd done that,
the bang bang.
yeah, maybe if he'd done that, he'd still be alive. But no, that was why he died. So, all right, we've talked a lot about this movie. We've given some points, some counterpoints, some critiques, some criticisms, and some ups and downs. It's time to give the thing the Scullies.
Ooh.
The Scully Awards. It was my pick, so I will go first. I think it's pretty obvious what I'm going to give this movie. I think it's
3.
Yeah, right. Horrible. Would not recommend. I'm never watching this movie again after the last 100 times. I enjoy watching this movie every single time because I think, and John Carpenter even agrees with me, that it's his best film. It is absolutely one of his best achievements as a director in every sense of the word. If there's one thing I want to tell everyone to check out next time you watch this movie, if you're not trying to figure out when someone's being taken over by the thing, watch this movie for the blocking, for how they set up scenes, where they position guys, and how the camera moves to catch guys right when they speak. And so they always know where they are. That's an incredible process to have done in this movie. And his camera work in this is so controlled and so perfect. Every time he moves it, it's for a reason. It's the exact amount that he needs to move it. The way that he sets up shots, he frames scenes, he sets up scenes. It's absolutely incredible. And on top of that, you had this incredible cast of actors, most of whom were pretty well-known character actors at the time, and they're all just completely invested. Not a single person gives a sour note the entire movie in terms of acting. The lighting is incredible. The script is, as I said, tight as a drum. I don't think there's any line that's excessive. Nothing goes on for any longer than it has to. Aside from the kind of nitpicks that we've talked about earlier, I think this is as close to a perfect movie as you can possibly get. And of course, it does all come down to personal preference. But for me, if this isn't a 10, nothing is. 10 Scullys from me. Duh. So, Dan March of Madness, your fourth time watching The Thing. Did this time make you raise what your Scully Award would be? What Scullys do you give to John Carpenter's The Thing?
I can't nitpick it enough to find like super faults that would make me not also go 10. Like it's such a fantastic, just from the moment that it starts, like, and we didn't even really talk, like we didn't even dive in too much, but like the score of it is so good. Ennio Morricone, who's just like a Hollywood legend when it comes to scoring some of the most famous films, but it was just like everything fit so perfectly. The way that they were telling the story, the way that the mystery unfolds.
I'm jumping in about the score real quick. The score. Ennio Morricone won the Razzie for worst score for this movie.
Wow.
Parts of his score for this movie were taken and used in Quentin Tarantino's Hateful Eight, and that won the Academy Award for Best Score.
Wow. Yeah.
How about that
wild.
for turnaround? But I'm sorry, man. The score is great. Please continue.
The score is great. It's just like it's such a like bleak movie, but also a fun movie, if that makes sense. Like
it totally makes sense.
I just love the characters. I love like the mystery that comes together. Yeah, it's even though I fully go back and forth with what the ending means and what who's actually what. I think that's what's the beauty of this film. So yeah, I can't go any lower than a 10. I think it's just John Carpenter's just masterpiece, and it's just it's so good. It's so
Dan,
tasty to take from Ian. Yeah,
my nerd
definitely.
brother. All right, Ryan, your first time watching the thing, you had some. It sounded like you had some issues with it, so I'm very curious to hear what Scully rating do you give to the thing.
I do have some issues with it. I did very much enjoy it. I think that, as we said, the story's great. I actually thought that the editing a lot of the time was really, really good. I loved the cuts that they did during the whole blood interrogation scene of like, it would be like, they'd be revealed and then the next cut, they would be like up with a flamethrower. Like that type of stuff was great. Dan, it looks like
I just want to say that I think that was like the editing that made me just like really sit up, because it was comedic editing.
Yes,
just
exactly.
the way that like they're like
dark,
give me
dark
the fuck
comedy.
up. Like it's just dark comedy. It's like give me the fuck up. You get me off of this. Then boom, they're next to each other. It's like it was just I was laughing out loud this time, which I don't remember
effective.
laughing so much. But that was like you said, brilliant editing. Go ahead, keep going.
And
Donald Moffat's line read on "I would prefer not to spend the entire winter tied to this fucking couch."
That's
is so good too.
That's I think the second best line in the movie. But I thought the editing was good. I thought like the intrigue was good. I really liked the majority of it. I do think I got frustrated with some of the decisions in terms of like I can see why they made them. I don't think they paid off as much as I would like. And the decisions that the characters make sometimes just make no sense and feel like they have to be shoehorned there in order for something to happen next. I'm gonna go. I was gonna go 8.5, but the Kurt Russell throwing a stick of dynamite and just going and fuck you too. It's a 9. It's a 9.
Yes.
I can't. That was such a great moment. It was so like it's coming out of the ground. It's gigantic. It's monstrous. It's killed literally everyone else, and he's just like throws a piece of dynamite. Love it. It's a 9.
Yum, yum, yum. I love it. Well, I'm glad that you enjoyed it that much too, Ryan. This was one that I didn't even think about us watching until I thought about it. And then once I thought about it, I was so psyched to come back here and discuss this one. I literally could talk about it for hours and hours on end. I freaking love this movie so much. I literally sometimes will I'll just put it on to have it on in the background. Just everything about it. But yeah. That's it. I have spent the thing. We're done talking about it. We're finished with this particular episode, which means it's time for me to pick another prompt. I'm out of a prompt. And that means it's time to reach into my bucket of doom and the 666 prompts that we have within.
663 now.
That's
we started with 666.
Yeah.
So we'll still call it the prompts of the beast. So let me reach in here and shuffle around and see what I get. Well, one just jumped out.
Oh no! Hey,
in the meanwhile, Oh, sorry, you go first.
One leapt out.
Oh my gosh! I was just gonna say before we move completely away from the thing, Brian, you're a big Among Us player. Didn't you feel like the thing and Among Us are such a without? That's
true. I never even considered that.
There's not a lot of Among Us. Like the Among
100%.
Us, the game takes so much from this movie, in my opinion. So, yeah.
No, that's actually, what's funny is I didn't even consider that, but there are so many great social deduction games out there, both like video game and horror and like even board game wise. I hadn't considered that angle, but I think that might be part of why I enjoyed it so much. Yeah. Now that you say it, I didn't even make that connection, but you're absolutely correct.
The fact that you used the word sus at the one point on Clark made me giggle inside because I thought the exact same thing. But all right, so I've picked my prompt. I didn't actually pick it. The prompt leapt out of this thing at me and attacked me.
It's been chosen.
Much like a crab head crawling away from a hospital table.
Oh, so my God.
I'm going to look at it at the same time you guys are here and flip it over and around. Oh, the word is asylum.
Oh my god.
Asylum.
That's
good.
exciting.
That's gonna be
good. That's tasty.
that's gonna
I
be-
like that. Wow.
I
That's
actually
delectable.
I'm already pretty sure. I'm 95% sure which one I'm going to pick off of that. I know a really good asylum movie that a lot of people have not seen, and I would love to introduce people to. So let me marinate on that, and I'll get back to you. But I'm pretty sure I know which asylum movie I'm going to pick. But that being
Girl
said,
Interrupted.
now yes,
Girl Interrupted.
one of my favorite horror movies, Girl Interrupted. Dan, you
Yes,
have a
sir.
prompt that
I
you're
do.
sitting on, and it's your episode next time. It's
It
your
is.
game, my friend. What is that prompt? What are we watching?
The prompt I got was sculpture, which was really tough for me at first to think of something. Like I was playing around with a bunch of titles in my head. Nothing was clicking. I didn't know what to settle on until I remembered a classic horror movie.
Ooh.
One of the scariest movies I've ever
Ooh.
seen. One of the movies that has still bothered me when I saw it again, and has a sculpture at the beginning of a demon named Pazuzu. We will be watching The Exorcist.
Yes. Okay. That is how you start off season 2 of this show, with a bang. We go for 2 absolute slapdash classics at the top. Ryan, I have to know, have you seen The Exorcist before?
I have once ages ago.
Wow.
Ages and ages ago. I think like college.
Okay, so this will be a really interesting experiment to see what you thought of it then and what you think of it now.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you've had a few more horror movies under your belt, this will be very interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, I think this is is this our first time you've ever seen one of our horror movies before? Or I thought we had one more that you've seen.
There might have been one. Well, actually, maybe. No, let me look.
Statman, give us our stats.
Yeah, I'm scanning through.
We'll take a pause.
Be.
Is this
I
our
thought you had
first?
seen one. I thought you had seen at least one.
I thought so too.
No, because we've talked about Halloween. Like
Right.
we've
Right.
referenced
You've seen
Halloween, and
that.
I know I've seen it, but I think this might be the first one
Oh.
that I've
Interesting.
seen. That's
Of all the
Looking at
ones.
all of them.
It
That
took
is
till season
bonkers.
2 that I haven't seen a movie. All right, well, but I have seen this one, and then next episode I have to pick something for Infect.
Ooh.
Such a
Infect
good
was my
Ooh.
prompt,
choice
so I have to
too.
see
Ooh.
what I come up
All
with
right.
for that.
So a very exciting episode coming up next week. We are weekly now, everybody. So check us out every single week on your podcast app of choice or on YouTube. We have new episodes coming out every single week. If you want to join up and help out the show, we do have a Patreon now. You can see some behind the scenes footage and get more insights into what we do around these parts and who we are and so on and so forth. So come and check that out. But I'm out of time, guys. I've got nothing left to talk about. We talked about The Thing. I've got so many more things I could talk about the movie, but it's okay. We talked about a lot of great stuff. It was awesome to hear you guys' opinions and takes on The Thing. Any last words, guys, before we head to the exits?
I just want to say go to beacons.ai/TIWYD pod. Get our merch. We got merch now.
Oh,
You
yeah,
can wear
look
it.
at the
Support
merch.
us.
Shout out to
It'll be great.
To the
Yeah.
merch.
wearing
Thanks,
merch.
Ryan. Thank you, Ryan Ross Live. Any last
And-
words, Ryan?
If anybody has any suggestions of merch they'd like to see, let us know on any of our socials. We'll be happy to put them on there. And then, shoot, I had something else, but I forgot what it was. Let's see. YouTube, merch. No, I think that might be it. I'm happy season 2.
Yeah.
There we
that
go.
was
And
it. Happy spoopy season.
Happy
It's
spoopy season.
Spooky.
Yes.
Spooky. Yeah.
Spooky
That
season.
was it.
Oh,
Yes.
happy spooky season. I
Happy
love it.
spoopy season.
It's the
Yeah,
most
anyone doing
wonderful
anything
time of the
spoopy?
year.
Are we doing spoopy things right now?
I'm just decorating my house. That's what I'm doing. Doing it all. I'm like the first person on my block that gets everything up, and I will always try to have that competition be alive as long as I live on my street.
Are
I
you a
will
Home
always-
Depot man or a Spirit
I
man?
have a couple things from Home Depot, and I've ordered some things from Spirit, but I need to go
Oh.
visit the Spirit store because then I will probably spend my entire bank account in that store by the time I walk out of there. So
I look forward to being able to do that. My dad taught me the love of Halloween. We decorate more for Halloween than we do for any other holiday, and I can't wait to do that when I get to that point.
Yeah. Yeah, we're with everything is Halloween around here. The second 4th of July ends. So you feel me? Not that I have a front yard, but if I did
already.
Yeah, exactly. All my Halloween stuff's already collecting dust. But that's the way I like it. I like having real spider webs. But well, all right, guys. Well, have a great first week of October, and everyone listening, have a great spooky season. Also, if you like spooky stuff, check out my other podcast, Horrorpalooza, which is my marathon. I do a 31 for 31 movies for the 31 days of October, and I put up a little podcast where I talk about each and every movie that I watch. That's also in every one of your podcast apps. If you want to check that out, it can be quite a bit of fun if you want to watch the movies along with me. But for Ryan Ross Live, for Dan March of Madness, I am Sir Ian Dangerous. We will see you next time right here on
This is why you die.